Imagine stepping into a simple coffee date, your heart filled with hope, yet your stomach fluttering with nerves. You've taken the time to dress nicely, chosen a cozy little cafe, and told yourself, this is just a casual meeting, nothing to be anxious about. But within minutes of sitting down, you realize that this is not what you expected. The energy is off, the conversation feels strange, and suddenly, you sense that you may have just walked into something entirely different from what you signed up for. That was exactly what happened to me. At 65, I had spent years embracing my independence, focusing on my own growth, and healing from the past. But deep down, I knew I was ready to open my heart again, to share laughter, companionship, and perhaps even love. So, when I finally took that leap and agreed to meet someone new, I was hopeful. I thought I had seen enough in life to navigate the dating world with wisdom. But the truth is, no matter how much experience we have, dating, especially later in life, can still surprise us in the most unexpected ways. What I encountered on that coffee date was beyond anything I could have imagined. And it left me with some valuable lessons about red flags, intuition, and the importance of staying true to who you are, no matter how much you want something to work out. If you've ever found yourself wondering whether it's worth putting yourself out there again, or if you're just curious about the challenges of dating in your 60s and beyond, stick around. I'm about to share a story that might just change the way you approach love and relationships. Before we dive in, if you enjoy content about real-life experiences, lessons learned, and navigating this stage of life with confidence, be sure to subscribe to Senior Life Unlocked. Here, we talk about everything from relationships and personal growth to finding joy in everyday moments. Hit that subscribe button and join this growing community. You never know when a story might resonate with your own journey. Now, let's get into it. Introduction. My life before the date. For context, my name is Michael Davis. I spent over 3 decades as a high school math teacher, guiding students through algebra, calculus, and the occasional teenage meltdown. Teaching was more than just a job, it was my passion, my purpose. But after retiring to Florida, my life slowed down. The once lively days filled with classroom discussions and bustling hallways were replaced by quiet mornings on my porch, the rhythmic sound of waves in the distance, and long afternoons tending to my small backyard garden. I lost my wife 3 years ago. She was my best friend, my partner in everything. The grief was overwhelming at first, like an anchor pulling me into deep waters. But time, as they say, moves forward, and so did I. My daughter, Sarah, whom I adore, lives across the country with a family of her own. Though we talk often, I can't deny the loneliness that settles in during the evenings, when the house feels too big and the silence stretches too long. To fill my days, I took up new hobbies: gardening, reading, volunteering at the local library. These things brought me joy. But still, something was missing: companionship. Not just friendship, but someone to share conversations over morning coffee, to laugh with over dinner, to simply sit beside without the need for words. Enter Linda, my well-meaning neighbor. She's the type who believes no one should be alone for too long and takes it upon herself to play matchmaker in our small community. One afternoon, she mentioned Christine, a 52-year-old retired nurse who, like me, was looking for companionship. She's kind, thoughtful, and loves good conversation, Linda assured me. After some hesitation, I agreed to give it a chance. Christine and I exchanged a few phone calls, and to my surprise, I enjoyed them. She was easy to talk to, witty, intelligent, and with a warmth in her voice that made me feel at ease. Eventually, we decided to meet for coffee. It was supposed to be a simple, casual meeting, but little did I know that one coffee date would take an unexpected turn, one that would leave me questioning everything I thought I knew about dating later in life. The date begins. Initial impressions. Christine arrived right on time, dressed elegantly but not overly formal, just the right balance of effort and ease. Her smile was warm, her handshake firm, and her energy confident. As she settled into her seat across from me, I felt an unexpected sense of comfort. From the moment we started talking, conversation flowed effortlessly. We shared stories about our careers, her years as a nurse, filled with long shifts, unforgettable patience, and moments of both heartbreak and triumph, and my own decades spent in the classroom, trying to make calculus seem less intimidating to reluctant teenagers. There was laughter, mutual respect, and an understanding that only comes with age and experience. We moved on to discussing family. I told her about Sarah, my daughter, and how proud I was of the life she had built, even if I wished she lived a little closer. Christine spoke about her 2 sons, both grown and successful in their own ways. She had a way of speaking about them that made it clear she was a devoted mother. And I admired that. Then, as we sipped our coffee and the conversation took a more personal turn, I began to feel even more optimistic. She was intelligent, engaging, and had a sharp sense of humor. I found myself thinking, maybe this was a good idea after all. But just as I started to relax into the moment, Christine's tone shifted. Her smile remained, but there was a new weight to her words. She leaned in slightly and, with a calm but serious expression, said, "Before we go any further, I need to be upfront about my 4 relationship conditions." The light-hearted mood of the date suddenly changed. I sat up a little straighter, curious and admittedly a bit nervous about what was coming next. I had walked into this coffee shop expecting nothing more than a pleasant conversation. Now, I had the distinct feeling that I was about to learn something that would completely change the course of our date. Christine's 4 demands. As the conversation took a more serious turn, Christine's confident demeanor remained steady. She spoke calmly, as if what she was about to propose was completely reasonable, practical. But as I listened, my initial optimism faded, replaced by a growing sense of unease. 1. A 6-month trial with a $20 deposit. Christine's first condition caught me completely off guard. She suggested that before committing to a long-term relationship, we should try living together for 6 months, a reasonable idea in theory. However, there was a catch. She required a $20 deposit to be placed in a shared account as a commitment test. If things didn't work out, she assured me, she would return a prorated portion based on the time we had spent together. I struggled to keep my expression neutral. Was she serious? I had always believed that relationships should be built on trust, mutual respect, and emotional connection, not financial transactions. Love isn't something you rent or negotiate with a security deposit. The idea of putting a price tag on commitment felt transactional, like a business deal rather than the foundation of something meaningful. 2. A dream vacation, funded by me. Christine's second condition was equally surprising. She had always dreamed of a month-long vacation in Hawaii, complete with first-class flights, luxury hotels, and even a professional photo shoot to document the experience. And guess who was supposed to pay for all of it? Me. She described it as a way for me to prove my dedication and show that I was serious about making her happy. Now, I have nothing against treating a partner to something special. I've always believed in thoughtful gestures and creating meaningful experiences together. But extravagant spending isn't a measure of love. True relationships thrive in shared moments, mutual effort, and emotional intimacy, not in lavish trips meant to impress. I began to wonder, was she looking for companionship? Or was I just a financial opportunity? 3. Full control over my finances. As if the first 2 conditions weren't enough, Christine then laid out the most alarming request of all. She wanted full control over my retirement income. She explained that, as a nurse, she had always been good at managing finances and believed it was best if she handled all our money. I would receive a small allowance for personal expenses, while she would oversee the rest. But that wasn't all. If I overspent my allowance, I'd have to compensate by doing extra household chores to make up for it. I sat there, stunned. This wasn't a partnership, this was financial control and dominance. A healthy relationship is built on trust and teamwork, not one person dictating the other's spending or treating them like a child who needs an allowance and punishments. 4. Separate bedrooms. Christine's final condition was perhaps the least shocking, but it still raised concerns. She made it clear that, even if we lived together or eventually married, she required separate bedrooms. She cited personal space, sleep preferences, and a need for independence as her reasons. While I respect the importance of maintaining individuality within a relationship, this arrangement felt less like a romantic partnership and more like roommates with benefits, except without the benefits. I'm not saying couples have to be attached at the hip, but emotional and physical closeness is a huge part of building a meaningful connection. If she wanted such strict separation, I had to wonder, what kind of relationship was she really looking for? My internal conflict and decision As Christine spoke, I found myself caught in a quiet battle within my own mind. On one hand, I understood the importance of setting boundaries and expectations in a relationship, especially at our stage in life. Was I being too harsh? Was she simply protecting herself from potential heartbreak? Or was I overreacting to conditions that, in her eyes, were merely practical safeguards? But deep down, a persistent voice inside me whispered the truth. This wasn't the kind of relationship I was looking for. I had always believed that love, companionship, and trust should come naturally, not as a set of negotiated terms. A relationship should be about mutual understanding, shared laughter, and support through life's ups and downs. What Christine was proposing felt more like a contractual agreement than the foundation of something meaningful. I thought back to the life I had built, the years I had spent loving my late wife, the joy of raising my daughter, the deep conversations with old friends over simple home-cooked meals. Love wasn't about security deposits, extravagant trips, or financial control. It was about connection, about the little things, the way two people instinctively care for each other, the way a simple moment of silence can be comforting rather than awkward. Looking across the table, I saw a woman who knew exactly what she wanted, and I couldn't fault her for that. But I also knew that our visions of companionship were simply too different. Taking a deep breath, I gently placed my coffee cup down and met her gaze. "Christine," I began, choosing my words carefully, "I truly appreciate your honesty. I respect that you know what you're looking for. But I have to be honest with myself as well. I don't think this is the right path for me." She nodded, her expression calm and composed. "I understand," she said simply. There was no anger, no argument, just quiet acceptance. I paid for my coffee, thanked her for the conversation, and walked out of the cafe. As I stepped onto the sidewalk, the late afternoon sun bathed the street in a warm golden light. I inhaled deeply, feeling a strange mix of emotions: relief, disappointment, and a surprising sense of clarity. I had come to this date hoping for something new, something promising, and while I didn't find what I was looking for, I left with something just as valuable: the reaffirmation that staying true to myself was more important than forcing something that didn't feel right. Maybe love was still out there for me. Maybe it wasn't. But one thing was certain: I wasn't going to settle for anything less than something real. Reflections and lessons learned. In the days that followed, I found myself replaying the conversation over and over in my mind. I had walked into that coffee date with hope, and I had walked out with clarity. Dating later in life is not the same as it was in our younger years. By this stage, we all have histories, past loves, and experiences that shape our expectations. Some of us carry wounds from failed relationships, the loss of a spouse, or years of solitude that have made us more cautious about who we let in. Christine's approach to relationships wasn't necessarily wrong, it was just wrong for me. I could understand her desire for security and structure. But love should be a bond of trust, not a contract with terms and conditions. True companionship isn't about financial guarantees or power dynamics. It's about connection, mutual understanding, and the simple joys of being with someone who values you for who you are, not for what you can provide. As I reflected on my experience, a few important lessons stood out to me. 1. Trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. That little voice inside us, the one that warns us when something doesn't feel right, is worth listening to. I could have ignored my doubts, convinced myself I was being too picky. But deep down, I knew this wasn't what I wanted, and that was reason enough to walk away. 2. Know your worth. Love should never be about proving yourself through money, extravagant trips, or grand gestures. A genuine connection isn't measured by how much you're willing to spend, it's measured by the depth of your conversations, the comfort of silence, and the way you make each other feel. A partner who truly values you won't put a price tag on your presence in their life. 3. Compromise should be mutual. Every healthy relationship requires flexibility, understanding, and a willingness to meet in the middle. But compromise should never be one-sided. It should feel natural, not forced. If only one person is making all the sacrifices, then it's not a relationship, it's an arrangement. 4. Solitude isn't the enemy. Many people fear being alone. But I've learned that loneliness inside the wrong relationship is far worse than solitude on your own terms. I left that cafe without a partner, but I walked away with my peace intact. And sometimes, That's the best decision you can make for yourself. Closing call to action. Dating, especially later in life, can be full of surprises. And not always the kind we expect. Sometimes, we meet wonderful people who enrich our lives in ways we never imagined. Other times, we encounter situations that leave us questioning our instincts, our values, and what we truly want in a partner. If you've ever been on a date where things took an unexpected turn, whether it was unusual requests, red flags you couldn't ignore, or simply a moment of realization, I'd love to hear your story. What was the most surprising demand or condition someone ever brought up on a date? Share your experience in the comments below. Conversations like these remind us that we're not alone in our journeys. And there's always something to learn from each other. And if you found this story insightful or relatable, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Senior Life Unlocked. Here, we dive into real-life experiences, lessons learned, and the unique challenges and joys of navigating this stage of life. By subscribing, you'll be part of a growing community of people embracing life with wisdom, humor, and resilience. So, if you're enjoying these stories and discussions, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and stay tuned for more honest conversations about love, companionship, and the adventure of growing older with confidence.